I can actually demonstrate the mobile app now a little bit. Actually, let me demonstrate the project management tool for you. Let me pull up our project management. Should have had this opened already and signed in, but I didn't. So I'm signing in. You'll see a quick list of projects for me here. I'm going to quickly go to my project demo, Russell's demo projects, and you'll see here it's pulling up a couple of projects. I'm going to actually set up a scope of work here. We've got this demo project here. I can set up a scope of work. I'll do that last. I'm just going to walk through this thing for you. Settings. I'll start from the bottom up. This is where you're going to enter in your project name, your project address, all that stuff, what state, what country you're in, GPS coordinates if you want to, what type of media you're going to be sampling. You don't have to, but you can pick your laboratory here as well. And then you hit save, and that's going to save that project and create a new one for you. Down here, site info is where you're going to upload your historical data. So you can see here I've got monitoring wells that I can upload. I can download an example file of how to upload bulk sample locations. The soil, groundwater, and other media all act the same. So all I would do is take this information, delete what's here in the example, change my names, and then re-upload this information back and just drag it back into here, and it's going to populate all these sample locations automatically. So you can see here, if I pick a particular monitoring well, it's got all this information, photographs that I've taken for that location. I can add a new one here just by coming up here and hitting new well, and you can add them one at a time, or you can bulk upload them, either way. And soil borings and other media sample locations act the same. Now my site maps are very similar as well. I can upload a new map just by hitting new groundwater map. I can actually create a satellite image. And this is going to go out on the GPS locations that we have. I'm just going to call this new sat map. And I'll say create the new image, and I click create. It's going out gathering all the GPS locations, and it's going to put them all on a satellite image. There's my new sat map. And then I just click on that map, and here's all my uploaded sample locations. Then I can adjust them or delete them. I think I've got Edgar's well down here somewhere. I can take that off of there, and now it's gone. So I can add new ones here. If I just click it back in here, I can add another one very easily. These are ones that I apparently don't have GPS coordinates on. So wherever I want to put them, I can save them. You can also have maps that you've already got an image for, like this cross section. I uploaded this cross section, and I can place new sample locations. I'll just say this is MW3, hit save, and it'll show me all the data for MW3 will plot at this location from here on for this particular image. So if I want to take it off, I can hit the X. You can see MW4. If I want to move this label around, I just simply click in whatever direction my arrow is pointing. That's the direction that the title block will be based on the sample location. So I just keep clicking. I can move it around. Let's say I want it to the bottom left, and I just do that, and I leave it there. Wherever I leave it, that's where it's going to stay. So, and you can upload any map you want. You then have to plot your sample locations based on the XY coordinate of the sample or the particular map. So very simple to set up maps and wells and sample locations. This contact tab is going to be, it is not inviting people to the project. This is actually the people who may work at the site, project managers associated with the project. So this is just contact information, and that gets populated in the mobile app. So if you want the gas station manager's phone number in there, you put it in here, and then when the person's in the field, they can actually access the settings and actually download that information and have the gas station manager's phone number and name and email if needed. So up here is where you're going to upload lab data, and this is a simple drag and drop. You can actually download both lab data and field data, so there's a difference. You can download examples of what this data format's going to look like. Again, download it, and then simply drag and drop your or upload your data back in here, and then it'll upload the information. Just drag it back into the box here, and it'll automatically upload to the platform. It'll tell you if you've created a new sample location. Maybe you've added uploaded data where you haven't identified a sample location yet, and it'll create that new one for you. So it's actually very intuitive, and it'll ask you if you want to do things, that kind of stuff. And so they all kind of work similarly as well. Reports this is where you're going to generate all your reports. So here's the data box map that I told you about. That's the first one. These are similar for soil. Groundwater is a little bit different. So I can pick my maps up here. So this new SAP map that I generated, that I just showed you, here it is. I can actually increase the size of the map if I want. I just increase the underlying map, and I can decrease the size of the box. So you can see I very easily change these boxes. Then I can drag and drop wherever I want these at, very simply. If I want to switch to a different map, I'll just go to this site map that I've already kind of created. I've saved these here. You can see if I like the sizing, I just hit the save button. I pick the dates that I want. You can see I've got 4 dates selected here. I can turn 2 of them off, and now it'll regenerate with just those 2 dates that I have selected. Here's my title block. I can leave that wherever I want. Wherever you leave these boxes, that's where they'll stay. And then whatever you have selected over here, you hit the save button associated with that section, it'll stay. You can see this little toggle switch here. I've got, like, for instance here, this doesn't have any dates in it. And if I don't want to show these dates, I can turn this off, and it won't show dates that weren't sampled. So again, it's very easily, quickly generated. When I want to generate this as a PDF, I just hit generate report, and it's going to generate this exact image as a PDF, and then it should open up here second. It's on my other screen. So here's that exact same graphic as a PDF, and then I can start generating all the different graphics that I might want compared to different criteria, which is listed right here. If I want to compare, one to drinking water and one to indoor air, I can just change what I compare to right here, and then generate a second graphic. Pick the chemicals I want to display. If I just want to do just xylene, I would simply just find xylene, check xylene, and then it's going to regenerate the map with xylene. Again, I can hit generate report. It'll generate with just xylene. So very quick in order to generate your graphics. So again, pick the locations. If I want to add MW1, I just turn it on, and now MW1's on there. If I hit save, next time I come in here, it'll be saved. I'm going to turn it off. And then I can switch units. If I want to do ppm, ppb, or ppt, then just pick the one you want. So flow contours are very similar as well. When you pick a map, it's going to pick a particular map. We'll go with stay with site map here. I can pick the dates. Now, when you're doing a groundwater contour, you can't have 2 data points on the same location because it's trying to develop a contour. So the data point's got to be a singular data point on a particular location. This will tell you if you're picking a date that has overlapping data, it'll tell you. There's a little black box telling you where you have overlapping data, like 2 points on the same location. So you have to turn one off in order to turn the other one on. And then it'll go out and grab the groundwater elevation data. What this is we know the top of casing, we know the depth of water on a particular date, and then it's going to calculate the groundwater elevation for you. So again, you can just pick one date, and then if you don't like a particular piece of data, let's say you don't like this piece of data, you can turn it off, and it just won't use that particular elevation. So if the checkbox is on, it'll use it. If it's off, it won't use that data. So you may have a well screened that was in a clay lens and it's just erroneous data, or maybe the cap was left off or something. And so you don't want to use the data. There's lots of reasons why you don't use data. And I can turn flow lines off or on. These are little light blue lines. I can give it a new title if I want, and I can change the number of contours. So let's say I want 10 contours because it's maybe a flat map, and the more contours I have, the better I can see the gradient, or maybe it's the other way around as well. So you hit generate report, and it's going to generate a groundwater contour map based on this data rather quickly. So there you go. You see that. And if I wanted to turn one of these data points off to kind of smooth or straighten one of these lines, I can do that as well. Let me just show you now without the flow lines. I'll turn them off. Hit generate report. It'll be the exact same contours, but no flow lines this time. So very quick to generate all that. Ice chemical contours work similarly in that it won't let you have overlapping data. And what this does, it goes out and grabs all the contaminant concentrations for all the chemicals you have selected here. So I selected this date. I've got all the chemicals turned on, but watch what happens if I turn off xylene. You see 16,370 here. If I turn off xylene, it's going to recalculate. Now that's all the contaminants identified at this location without xylene in it. I'm going to turn it back on, and you can pick just the chemicals you want. You can do this 10 times. You want to do each chemical by itself. Just turn them off and on, generate a map. I can put a 0 line on here. Again, the number of contours, I'll just go with like 12 contours. I'm going to make it a heat map. So rather than just colored rings, it's going to fill everything in. I can change my contour scale from linear to logarithmic. I'll leave it at linear, and I'll let you play around with these other options, titles, units. I'm just going to hit generate report, and you see it's going to be a weird contour because there's another feature that we've added now, because when you're doing it, it's not going to be quite a very pretty contour. Now, whenever you're doing these kind of contours, there's always artistic interpretation. So what we allow the user to do is place a 0 using a right click, because of 16,370 here, it needs another data point in order to do a contour, right? So you'll have 2 data points, and then you can contour the intervals in between based on your other parameters over here. But if you don't have other data points surrounding your values, unless you've got a 0 value, it's going to have a hard time figuring out where the contours are at. So we allow the user to right click and place 0 points using their, artistic interpretation of what the data may show. So hit generate report, and it's going to generate a groundwater contour, ice chemical contour, showing you the concentrations now. So you can see the difference between this graphic, which is more realistic, and this graphic. I can change what this looks like by changing my 0 points as well. So next one down is free product contours. I'm going to skip that because it actually works very similar to, this is going to be free product thickness. It's going to be similar to, ice chemical contours, only it's going to do thickness. And then analytical graphs, we can graph all kinds of data. So this is just a preview of the data. You can hover over the particular date, and it'll show you the actual values. Again, pick the dates you want, the chemicals you want, the locations you want. Hit save, save, save. And then when you're ready to hit the report or generate this report as a PDF, just hit generate report, and it's going to generate the graphics for you. Elevation graphs. This is going to be, elevation graphs is going to be looking at your groundwater elevation and your top of casing and bottom of top of screen and bottom of the well, and then your groundwater elevation within the screened interval. Now, if you've got free product and you want to show that as well, you can check the free product button here, and it'll actually regenerate, showing you any free product should there be any. I don't think this particular example has free product. So what would happen is the free product would be a red line on top of the blue line, or if it's a sinker, it would be a red line down at the bottom. So you can show free product as well, along with your groundwater elevation on the different dates that you've selected. So you can see trends over time. We can also do combination graphs, and it's basically a combination of the groundwater elevation, which is on the right-hand column, and chemical concentrations on the left. So that's a good graph for showing causation and correlation. In source areas, groundwater goes up, you're going to have increased elevations. Down gradient, as groundwater goes up, you're going to have decrease. It's going to be diluted out, so decreased concentrations. Field data graphs. You'll see the field data graphs. Again, pick the dates you want, pick the chemicals you want, and it will graph them for you. Just adding a couple dates that maybe have some data on them. So I do a lot of demos, and I don't always enter data, so it shows up on my data graphs. But here's the ones that have actual data on it. These are all ones that I don't normally select. So anyway, that's field data graphs. Analytical data tables. It'll generate a table with just your values on it if you don't have any cleanup criteria. But if I want to compare to a different criteria, this is my drinking water criteria, and then it'll compare to the numbers. I can pick a second criteria. So this is GSI, groundwater surface water interface. And so the highest value will always be red, and the next one down will be yellow. Then I can have a third one as well, which will be blue. So if it's above blue, it's above the lowest number. If it's above yellow, it's above the mid number, and if it's red, it's above the highest number. So anyway, it's a very quick, easy way to compare to different criteria. And if you had your own site-specific criteria, that would be listed here, and you would be able to compare to that as well. And if the lab is uploading data with a data qualifier, this example doesn't have any data qualifiers in it. We actually just created this feature where it replicates the data qualifiers. And this example was uploaded prior to that. But if it had data qualifiers, it'd show up here like a little not asterisk, but like a subscript or superscript number, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then your data qualifier would show up down here as well, corresponding to whatever the lab data qualifier showed. Same thing, pick your chemicals, pick your locations, and then hit generate report, and it'll generate the report. So there's our data tables as a PDF. Field data tables, kind of the same thing. Pick your dates, chemicals, what you want to show, free product, no free product, the locations, generate report, and it will generate the report for you and add it to your PDF stack. So now I've got all these PDFs. I would simply combine the files as one, or however I wanted to build my report. I've got all the appendices, for every graphic I generated, and I can upload this and get that report out the door in a matter of minutes. All right, let me switch to now the field app. Well, actually, let me go to this last tab over here. We're now in events. I'm going to create a new event. I'm just going to say add a new event. I'll keep it a groundwater event. I'm going to say I'm going to do it on October 7th. So you'll see October 7th here. I click on that date. I haven't tested anything yet. I can actually pick what I want to test for. Let's just say BTEX. I hit save. It's going to add BTEX over here to this column. I can actually create a form. I can modify my form through here. There's videos on how to modify your custom form. So I can modify and create a new form. I'm going to pick my well condition inspection form. That's then going to be placed over here. So if I want to do monitoring well 5 with a form, 6 with a form, and 7 with a form, and I want them all to be low flow sampling, I will just say low flow sampling. So I got 5, 6, and 7 for BTEX with my form. I'm going to come down here and pick a duplicate. I add the location. Again, it's intelligent. It will only let me do 5, 6, or 7. Then I can pick that as my duplicate. Now is on 5. I can do MSD, field blank, trip blank. Same thing. Pick what I want to test for, how many blanks I want. I'll just leave it at 1 and just hit save. And now I've saved my work scope. 3 wells. I can actually do a gauging as well. So if I want to do 3 and 4, where I'm just going to collect a groundwater elevation, but I'm going to collect the form as well. I'm going to resave this, and now I've got 2 gauging locations and 3 samples. So I've hit save, and now I'm going to show you the app. So let me switch over. I'll stop sharing this. I'm going to now share my screen here. So you should see that here in a second. So I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to the app. On the main screen here, this is like the home screen. You'll see I don't see October 7th yet. So I'm going to come up here to the top, hit refresh, and it's going to download the most latest events. You can see now there'll be October 7th. As I just created it, I had not refreshed my screen yet. And you can see there's one that's already green, and then the others are gray. That means there's a couple that are green. This means that I've only downloaded a summary when it's gray of the 3 samples and 2 gauges, but when I want to download the entire scope, I tap the little gray arrow, and it's going to go out and grab the most recent scope of work. It's going to get all the details, photographs, everything about that site, and push them to the device. So now I've downloaded my app, my work scope. It's green. I tap the bar and it uploads that app. I'm just going to grab my printer here. I have the printer on the battery charger. So here's my mobile printer. I'm just going to make sure I'm connected to it. Yep, I'm connected to my printer. And so now I'm going to turn the printer on, let that warm up, let that sit right there. And so I'm going to, you can see here where I've got the samples from clean to dirty. So it's 7 is actually cleaner than 6, and cleaner than 5 is the dirtiest well there. You see it says total contamination, 17,000 or 1,750. I can resort. If you go to the top right, I can resort by A to Z. So it's going to resort now. Now it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to go back to contamination. So 5 is at the bottom again. That's also the duplicate. I'm going to blue is gauging and orange is sampling. So I'm going to start with MW7. You can see here there's a little screen over here where all the samples are located. I'm going to hit MW7. These are photographs that I've taken of sample locations in the past. I can take a new sample if I want. Here's my chair. I'll pretend that's monitoring well number 7. And you'll see now it's going to add that to the database. I can also isolate this on a GPS map. You can see here that's where MW7 is at. If I tap the bottom right little target looking thing, that'll actually show you where I'm sitting right now. So this site is actually about 100 miles away from me. But if I was within the vicinity, it would actually show where I'm at, where the sample's at, and I can walk right to the location or drive there. There's also a bunch of other information. Construction information, how many and what I'm sampling for. You'll see here's BTEX, all that stuff. I'm not going to fill out all this stuff. There's more detailed videos on how to do this stuff. This is just a quick overview. I'm going to hit start sampling. Here's where I'm going to enter in all my depth to water, depth to product. If there is any weather information, notes. Again, I'm not going to enter in all this. Just hit the continue button. And you recall the well condition inspection form. I can fill this out right now, or I can start my low flow sampling and then fill out the form later. I can actually move back and forth just by tapping these buttons at the top. So you can skip steps, come back to them. So let's say I want to skip this for now. I'm going to go to the equipment setup for the low flow sampling. I'm going to set up all this information, low flow sampling, interval time, all that stuff, tubing type, diameter. I'm going to skip all this. This is our low flow sampling screen. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but if I hit take another reading, it's going to add a column. I would then enter in my low flow data. The timer will start. It's set at 5 minutes right now. You can set it to whatever you want it to be. It'll also recalculate what it thinks you should be at based on the volume of your flow through cell and your flow rate. There's lots of features there, and there's videos about that. But when I'm ready to sample, I'm going to hit the bypass stability calculations. It allows me to then collect samples. And this is where I'm going to sign my name. This is a 3-part authentication. Say MW7, right? Yep. I'll hit continue. I take my selfie. And then it's going to connect to the printer and print the labels for this particular sample location. So if you recall, it was a BTEX, said for 3 40 mil VOA labels, and it's printing out 3 labels. Prints about 1 label every 4 to 5 seconds. So there's the 3 labels. I'll show them here real quick. You can see that MW7. It's got all the information on there, all the bottle size, my signature. It says MW7, and then just hit done. I can reprint if need be. You know, sometimes you run out of labels, or maybe you screw one up somehow. You can reprint, and then just hit continue, and then go back, and now you can see MW7 is done. So that's kind of how the mobile app works. You would simply go through all this. There's a chain of custody. If you look, hit the custody button at the top right there. Now it shows that I've got MW7 in my custody, and then there's a whole video training on you know, how to transfer custodies and that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to go through all that. But anyway, so that's the app, and how you can generate reports, and you know, you can skip it for a day, go back in the next day, and do the same thing. You know, keep sampling, and it'll record all your. It'll keep track of all your samples in your custody, and then once you transfer them out, it'll show that they're no longer in your custody, and they'll be in the custody of whoever you transfer them to, as long as they have an account. So, and accounts are free, so we don't charge for them. So it's very simple to use the app to receive samples, transfer samples, that kind of stuff. So, anyway, this is the part where I would normally ask for questions, but since this is a recording, there are no questions. I appreciate your time, and either contact your representative for any questions you may have, or you can get a hold of us through our website. Thank you.